D, they, them from Iowa. It sounds like you want to talk to us about some Mormons on your doorstep. Tell us more about this story, D.
Hey, Dr. Dan. Hi, Sophia.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Hi. I'm good. I'm good. You guys are really rolling today. I'm enjoying the show.
Yeah, tell us about your story.
Well, I thought that it kind of, it really ties in nicely with your last caller and Sophia's cold open. Last year, I had a couple of young men that visited me weekly from the LDS church, and they were really lovely young men. And we were able to meet each other where we were. I never actually came out and said I was atheist to them, but, shared a little bit of my searching story and that, and they were very receptive. And then, winter in Iowa, nobody wants to do that on a regular basis. So I guess this week the official new 2025 missionary season opened, and I had a couple of new young men at my doorstep. And I moved on, from my willingness to engage with the lunacy of Mormonism. I learned a lot from the previous young man, but it just wasn't anything that I wanted to dedicate any of my time to any longer, as far as conversations and exploring. And so I respectfully told these new young men that, honestly, I just was not convinced that Mormonism was true or, real, and gave them some of my main, reasons for no longer wishing to engage. And unfortunately, these young men were very negative. They received my comments very negatively, and I started looking for polite ways to get them away, just to have them continue and just make a note that I was no longer interested in conversation. And it just, they took it very, very personally, because, and I did actually tell them I do not believe in Jesus. I do not believe in Jehovah. And one of them just got, you could tell he had never spoken to someone who didn't believe in Jesus before, because he was just incredulous. He was. I can't. If you guys, anybody, you think back to something that you took as a given, as a natural thing in your life, and somebody comes along and says, "Nope, I don't believe in that." Like if somebody said, "I don't believe in gravity," you'd be like, "What?"
Mm-hmm.
And
That's like talk to a flat earther.
It was,
yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So yeah, definitely. And so, you don't believe in Jesus? And I mean, his voice went up an octave and a couple of decibels. And we danced around that concept for a couple of more minutes. And I said, and then he said, "Well, what do you believe?" And I said, "Why do I have to have a belief?"
Yeah, like it's a
And
test.
A couple of Bible, yeah, right, exactly. And then a couple of Bible verses came up, and this and that and the other. And so my methodology is to engage with people where they are. So if they're going to engage with the Bible, I'll engage with the Bible back. And then when I did that, that was even worse than saying I didn't believe in Jesus, because I didn't believe in Jesus, but I still quoted the Bible. So I was blaspheming, basically.
Well, did they? Yeah, because basically you're Satan now, right? Because Satan knows the Bible too.
Right. Right. And he's like, you don't know anything, and blah, blah, blah. And so, these missionaries go out when they're like 20 something.
Yeah.
After they've read a couple of Mormon manuals and engaged in kind of like mock debates. And I instead of being angry with these young men, I was really sad for them. Number one, that their church sent them out so unprepared, and that all they had to hang on to was Jesus. And I was directly challenging that, and it was very threatening for them. Very unpleasant for them. And I'm sorry that I'm sorry that they responded to me that way. But I blame their church for that. Because when I understand the isolationism that a culty church imposes on their members, because I was there. There was a point in my life where I had absolutely no contact with the outside world, except maybe when I went grocery shopping.
Well, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, just like that script that they have to follow. And it's why too, on this show, we'll get people that call in who are apologetic students, or there's some kind of missionary, and they'll call in thinking that they're just going to use that same script that they use with everybody else. And that script doesn't work here. Like, we've all read their script. We know what they're going to say. And we try to get them off it and just tell us what you actually believe. And it's so hard for them to do that. And I agree that it's their church that did this to them. They taught them exactly what words to say. Like, if they say this, you say this. And that's not how the world works. And that's not how a lot of people are going to respond to discussion. And I know it sounds like, it feels harsh. It feels like you traumatize them a little bit. And maybe that's the case. But sometimes with those people, you have to shock their system a little bit. Like, they have to feel a little embarrassed. They have to question what they said. And sometimes that's a way to get them out, or at least start questioning. So even if it feels harsh, I probably would have done a similar thing for them.
Yeah, I think also...
And like your prior caller said, that we need critical thinking skills. We need, we need to. And I watched something on the nonprofits earlier about the FFRF and American Atheists lawsuit, and how the hosts were saying you need to dig deeper and not just swallow anything you see. And I felt a real kinship with your previous caller, because of that. And I was not being rude. I did get, irritated a little bit. And I asked him, I did ask him, I'm like, why are you getting so emotional over this? And he's like, you're telling us we're wrong. That's really rude.
I mean, rudeness.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you you're wrong. I'm telling you why I'm not convinced. But I think see
also,
that, and I really. Yeah. Go ahead.
Rudeness is such a social thing, right? The number of times I've been told that I'm too much, that I'm rude, that I'm brash, or given the question, could you have gone about that a better way? It's like, it's always because somebody was, didn't like the thing I said. And I mean, sometimes I was rude on purpose, gotta say. Like, I know that I cross some social boundaries sometimes, but it's like, it's just a way to not have to listen, to just say like, oh, that was rude. Well, it's rude that you're knocking on my door at my home, trying to tell me that I need to believe in your very specific, very culty book. And, when I think about these young Mormon missionaries, I also think a lot about young Scientologists. They're kept in similar conditions. They're trained in similar ways. They are sent out into the world to be rejected, basically, as sort of a test of, see, the world is bad. Come back to us. We are the only good people. We are the only ones who are actually trying to help mankind, and they don't even want to listen. There's this really strong narrative that is married to ignorance, and then they're cut off from their families a lot of the time. If you read and listen to ex-Mormons talk about what it's like to be on these missions, it's kind of painful. Like, they really aren't treated well, and as a result, they're kind of, if you think about mind control conditions, you make someone miserable, you make them think the world is evil and bad, and you don't give them any out other than to do exactly what you tell them to. And yeah, it's horrifying to watch. You got to wonder, if someone's so threatened by critical thinking, what is it that they're planning on doing? And realistically, we know, they've been around long enough. We know that they want power. And these poor little guys are the victims of it.
I know the way, when you said, they're kept in isolation. They're trained it's almost like they're training attack dogs. And you know what I'm saying? I'm like, they're throwing them out there, like throwing a couple of fighting dogs into a fighting pit and see who comes out.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting when you have a religion that, instead of sending their best, like, instead of sending their preachers, instead of sending their higher ups who, like, theoretically went to seminary or went through some other training, or were ordained in some way to, like, be that minister, like, instead of sending out the religious leaders to do that, they're sending out the most young, the most inexperienced, the most new people out to do that. It's like, are you really so, like, if you're so confident in this hierarchy of a system, if you're going to say that the preachers, the top of the food chain, why are you not sending your best people out there? Like, if you really want people to be persuaded or whatever, like, why are you not sending your best? And part of it maybe too, it's of course a way to indoctrinate their younger people. It's a way to force people to obey and to get so invested in this organization, and the fear of punishment, the fear of being ostracized, etc. Like, there are plenty of reasons why they're sending the young people out there to do it. And it's not to be more persuasive. It's not to actually, like, I mean, of course it's to further the religion, but it's not to give their best arguments. That's not the point of this. The point is to indoctrinate their own people, and to have, like, friendly young people try to convince other young people to give into this stuff. And it's very interesting. Yeah.
Well,
Lots to think about.
They're going to send them out there and say, and then they come back after an experience like this, and they'll say, see, the outside world is dangerous. The outside world, we are the only ones that understand you. We are the ones who will protect you.
And we mentioned too the attack dog analogy.
For them.
Yeah, we don't value attack dogs for their creativity and individuality, right? Mm-hmm. We value them because they are trained to do exactly what they are told. And when I think about the utter waste of human beauty and creativity and variety that that is created when we essentially force this flattening for the sake of religion. You know, you can't on the one hand say that God created you and this beautiful world and you are part God and you're in God's image, and at the same time say, suppress all of those instincts and only do what we tell you. It's this very weird way to live.
Right.
And it causes so much damage to those individuals. And, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know. I wish I had a better conclusion than, you know, but it's just a fucking tragedy.
Yeah. Well, and the last thing I want to say about it is the next time you see a couple of LDS young men on your porch knocking at your door, maybe be a little more tolerant. Just realize that they're still in development. They're still developing their young ones.
They don't have those frontal lobes yet.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, that's why I love methods like straight
Right,
epistemology.
exactly.
I think SC is a great way to approach those people. It's like you don't even have to be aggressive with them. You don't have to even give any of your own arguments. You can just sit back and ask questions. And that's what, and they're probably going to feel invited to answer questions because that's the whole reason they go and talk to people. Like they're under the assumption that they are there to answer your questions about Mormonism. So take that invitation, ask them some of those harder questions, but just frame it as questions, frame it as innocent questions of like, yeah, what convinced you that this is true? Or like, where did you find this? How did you arrive at this conclusion? Do you believe this is literal? Do you like, you can ask those questions that we ask on the show and you can keep it very gentle. And it's in their court then what they do with those questions and how they sift through that. And you might not get good results like in that moment. They might not openly start questioning it, but when they go home that night, they're going to have to come to terms with the questions that they were asked and like, oh, maybe I don't know how I got this information, or maybe I only believe this because I was born in this culture. Like, how much confidence do I give faith? And is faith a good way to arrive at any conclusion? And I think a lot of those questions carry a lot of weight for people. So yeah, you don't have to be aggressive. You can just sit back and ask questions, and that can do a lot of the heavy lifting for you.
Right. Well, thanks for letting me share my thoughts on that. And I really appreciate it. Like I said, you guys are rocking it today. So I'll get off and give someone else a chance.